Hey guys, Eric with Blue Line Fishing. Welcome back to the channel. Your time's important to me as always, and what we're going to do in today's time is we're going to talk crappie jigs, specifically soft plastic body crappie jigs. And I'm going to show you guys 5 that have been really successful for me. It'll help you get those big old slabs in the boat or on the bank. Stick with me, we'll jump right into it. So guys, let's jump right into this. No particular order here on this top 5 of mine, but with that being said, I've had a lot of success on this one the past few years. This is the Bobby Garland Baby Shad, and I'll take it out of the package so you can get a better look at it. So this is the Bobby Garland Baby Shad. It's got a little pencil tail on it. Doesn't take much movement at all. As you can see, I'm just barely moving it here and that tail's jiggling all over the place. But this is one that, like I say, man, the past couple seasons, in fact, just this past weekend, had a great weekend with it. Caught nearly 50 crappie, and they were all on this little Bobby Garland Baby Shad. And it's one, like I say, just a little solid body on it, pencil tail, and I'll show you the type of jig head that I like to put on these too. So when it comes to jig heads, I like something a little bit different. You can use the ball style jig heads. There's nothing wrong with that. Still fish them, catch a lot of fish on them. But the one I really like is this crappie magnet shad darter. And I'll take one out here so you can get a look at it. What I think makes it unique over just the ball style jig heads is it's got a little different shape to it here, but what it does when you rig this bait up, and I'll rig one up here and show you, it just gives it a slimmer profile, and it does have that kind of erratic darting action, especially if you're going to fish that jig vertically or fish it really slow. I like to fish this one on a long 10-foot crappie pole that I've got and kind of noodle it in and out of the timber and brush piles and things like that, but I'm able to kind of give it that little bit of that vertical presentation, and I'm just barely moving this jig around, and you know, it's got all kinds of movement in the tail, especially on those days when they want a more subtle presentation. So here's one of them rigged up. You can see it's kind of got a angle to the head here. It does have an angle to the head here, maybe about 15-20 degrees, but it's one, like I say, I think it gives it an erratic darting action, especially if you're just kind of barely moving it and quivering it in the water column there. I usually like these in 1/16 ounce. Sometimes I'll do 1/32 ounce. Rarely 1/64 if you're wanting that super small presentation, but usually 1/16 or 1/32. That's pretty much with all my crappie jig heads, whether it's a darter style head like this crappie magnet or just your traditional round ball head or a pill head, whichever one that you would use. I usually like that 1/16, 1/32, but that's going to depend on how you fish and your techniques. But you know, you can always vary up the weight, and it's going to give that lure just or this little soft plastic lure just a little bit different action. So I'll show you one of my favorite setups for windy days. So you've got your little Bobby Garland Baby Shad here, and what I love to do is just put a slip float above it. Here I've got a little fill slip float just like that, and then further up my line here, I've got a bobber stop. You can see the bobber stop right here, and it makes it super easy and super quick to adjust the depth of your jig. And one of the nice things about it is when it's real windy, or it doesn't have to be real windy, you just got some wind, what it'll do is it will pull this, you know, pull the bobber along the surface of the water, and this jig right is underneath there, and it's just barely moving, real subtly moving. And it's awesome because you can throw one out and you can work different depths of the water column. You don't have to vertical jig per se, or if you're not able to do that, even from the bank, you can use this right here, adjust your depth on your bobber until you find the height that the fish are at. And normally crappie feed up, so if you keep it just a little bit above them, it's perfect. But anyway, just using this bobber and this little subtle baby shad is just a fantastic way for those windy days, and sometimes you can do it on calm days too. But if you haven't tried this, you guys need to give this a shot, this setup right here. So I'll say this, guys, I've been doing really well on white and blue and white this year, but you know, when it comes to crappie jig colors, that's a debate that can go on forever. You know, I think whatever works for you, you do you. Me personally, I like a lighter colored jig. I have more success on it than the natural hues or the darker hues, but that doesn't mean anything. Wherever you're at, the water conditions and things like that can dictate that. But I just personally have a little bit more success with these lighter color ones, like these Bobby Garlands. I like this chartreuse and blue. There's a chartreuse with a little bit of red flake in it here, and then this light purple and white, and of course the pearl white. Done well on all these, but I usually just like those lighter colored hues if you're wondering what my favorite color choices are. So next up is the Crappie Thunder by Strike King. Now this is a Wally Marshall bait right here. If you're familiar with him, and little backstory how I started fishing this bait, probably around 2010 or 11. I was at the Bass Pro Shop down in Nashville. Wally Marshall was putting on a little seminar. Watched his seminar, watched a tank demonstration with it, and afterwards got to talking to him for a little bit. And he had just come out with these, and I was able to get a few from him. He just gave me a few, started fishing them and love them. And I think what makes them different, and they're all over the place now. You'll see a lot of imitators of these, but it's a solid body bait right here, 1 3/4 inch, but it has this broom tail. But it's not like your traditional broom tail where it's just kind of got this, see if I can open it up right here, kind of a skirt right here. So when you rig this bait up, it tends to fall real slow through the water column. These tentacles here almost act like a little bit of a parachute. I'm not saying it suspends or falls super slow, but it falls slower than, say, a curl tail grub or a straight broom tail, your traditional broom tail that's got the little interior jig in it. But these Crappie Thunders by Strike King have been an awesome producer for me. And my favorite color in it is this blue and white. Once again, a lighter hue. But and I also like to rig these up on the Crappie magnet jig head or just a traditional ball head, once again 1/16 or 1/32 ounce. So the next bait here is another Strike King bait. It's the Shad Pole. It's a little 2-inch bait, and it's similar to the Bobby Garland in a way where it has a long pencil tail. I'll take one out of the pack here and show you. It's got that long pencil tail right here, but it's got a little bulbous into it right here, like a little ball socket thing going on there. But anyway, solid body on it right here. Another great one to rig up with a darter head, or you can put your round jig head on it, and it's just one of those baits that is fantastic when you've got kind of a slower bite maybe going on, or they just want a presentation that's more vertical and more subtle. Like I say, this past weekend did really well, catching a bunch of crappie, and I was just noodling around the timber there and the brush piles. I wouldn't really catching very many when I was casting and bringing it back in, either jigging it or just a still retrieve. They wanted it kind of just really noodling in and around that timber, and this little tail like that just gives that subtle action that drives them crazy, because you can see I'm barely moving my hand here, and this little 2-inch bait just drives them crazy. Okay guys, next on the list here is this Bass Pro Shops Triple Ripple Grub. This is a little 2-inch bait right here, and it is a curly tail, and you're like, well, it's just a curly tail, what makes it special? But these little slits that are in the tail, these 3 little slits, I think they displace a little bit more water. They have a little bit more action in the water, and I think they're really good on those days when those fish want a little more aggressive presentation, something faster moving. Whether you're reeling it out, just bringing a straight retrieve back in, or you're jigging it as you come back in, this is one that I really like to use in those situations. Same size weight jig head, still the 1/16, 1/32, but I do like a ball jig head on these little triple ripple grubs. You can use a darter head on it, but I've just found it works a little better for me, and I get a little better results with the round jig head. But these little triple ripples, and I know they've been out for a long time, but they're ones that I think they just has that little subtle difference in your straight curly tail that really put slabs in the boat. So now to number 5 on the list, and the last thing here is something a little different that I like to use. Once again, when those fish want a little more aggressive presentation, something faster moving, and that is the old Roadrunner right here. And this one's one a buddy of mine's dad made. He's got the mold and makes these, but you can get the store-bought ones if you will. Doesn't really matter, but this right here, I like to hook up this little slider jig to it, which is just basically a small paddle tail style bait. It's got the paddle tail, but you could put any soft plastic on the back here you want. The key is this pony head, so it's a little underspin. They'll have the little Colorado blade on them sometimes for a little more thump, or this one here has just a little tiny willow leaf blade on it, but it gives it a little more flash, a little more vibration, a little more thump in the water, especially if you're real muddy or stained water conditions, or just one of those days when the fish are aggressive and they want something with a little bit bigger profile, a little more flash, and a little faster moving. But the Roadrunner definitely needs to be in your arsenal. So guys, I'll say like the Bobby Garland jig here, or these Strike Kings and stuff like that, you can find these at your local Walmart, Academy, Dick's Sporting Goods, things like that. But I'll leave some links down below in the description as well, so you guys can check out these a little more if you want to. So that's my top 5 producers as far as crappie fishing soft plastics go. If you got something out of today's video, please consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps me out. Maybe hit that bell notification button, give me a like and a comment down below. I'd really appreciate it. Hey, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And remember, until that next video, get out there and fish.